This is Jack.
And this is Yost.
And this is the Jack and Yost podcast. Welcome. Happy Monday morning to you. Anybody that's listening.
To the 5 people that will listen to this first podcast.
We're happy to be with you today. And we wanted to quickly talk about the reason that we're doing this.
Do you remember the first time we talked about doing this?
Yeah, years ago. Maybe 2013, 14, something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it that long? Man.
I mean, we might have talked about it for the first time when we first started working together. So maybe 2015.
When did you get like really big into podcasts?
Oh, as soon as I started working for myself.
Yeah, so it must have been around there then.
Yeah, so I listened to audiobooks mostly for... Oh, no, you know what? No, it was when I started working for my first company, the first company I worked for. So 2011 would have been.
Okay, but then we didn't start talking about it until... I can't remember. Like, I can't remember... Like, I think the earliest time I remember talking about it is in 2015.
The first notes I have of this possible podcast was November of 2016. So we've been talking about it for quite some time. Yeah.
I mean, that tracks, you know?
Yeah.
That tracks.
We do a lot of talking. So.
We do a lot of talking. It's just funny. If you go back to, like, people who have YouTube channels, and you go back to their first earliest videos, I'm terrified about what my voice is going to sound like. Because because if you go back to their early videos, it's very flat. Like they don't know how to inflect properly for videos.
Yeah, and you get used to doing it later on.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. The whole reason we're doing the podcast is because we've always wanted to. We've talked about it for years. Even thought about this name years ago. And then we never did it. And so it would seem like it'd be a disservice to ourselves not to at least give it a shot.
And seeing as how we just talk anyway.
Yeah, all day long.
All day long. If we can somehow, way down the line make some money off of it, that'd be good. Yeah.
We should introduce ourselves.
Didn't we already do that?
I mean, yeah. I'm Jack, and you're Yost. But who are we? Why do we work together? And why do we spend all our time together talking about stuff?
Right. We're brothers.
Yeah. We're brothers, have been since birth. And we spend all day talking to each other because I own a business. Yost works for my business. And so we spend all day together. And since we spend all day together, we get to reflect on all the things in the world that we hate. We try to think about the stuff that we love, too.
Sometimes about the things we love. Mostly about the things we hate. But we are going to try to keep it positive for this, though.
Yes. As the intro music would tell you, we're trying to be upbeat.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes, I guess.
So why did you want to start a podcast?
It seems like, maybe it's a little too early to say this, but it seems like fun. Maybe.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of fun.
It seems like fun, and I have a very hard time finding things to be passionate about. But
I do not.
Anytime we talked about this, it was, I would always get excited for it and stuff, and
yes,
and so. I just, like I said, it seems like a fun thing to do. Maybe after like a month of doing this, maybe it won't seem like so much fun anymore, but hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, hopefully not.
But, and like I said, if, you can do something that's fun and, I don't want to make it seem like it all goes back to money, but
it'd be nice to make.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Like, and it's not, doesn't have to, just a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be nice to make a little bit of something off it. I don't know if we'll be able to.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
That's the whole reason why I wanted to do it. Like we were talking about yesterday, which, by the way, today is the day after Easter 2020. So if you're listening to this anytime later on, just know, give it a few more episodes. We'll have nicer equipment, and we won't sound so terrible.
Right.
But so it's the day after Easter 2020, and yesterday we were having dinner, and since Yost and I are together all the time, we might as well be together all the time. And so we were having dinner, eating mom's ham and stuff, delicious, and we were talking about the reason why we wanted to do this and why we're pulling the trigger on it now. If you don't know, or if you're listening to this sometime in the future.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Tom Brady was traded to the Buccaneers.
to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah. Tom Brady's gone and the world ended. But
we're not Patriots fans.
No,
by the way.
We're not.
Hate the Patriots.
But the real elephant in the room is the reason we decided to is because if you don't know, in April of 2020, we have a virus that is going around the world, and it's the only thing anybody can talk about. And yes, unfortunately, we will do some talking about it, but that's only because it's become such a huge part of our lives. We decided that we wanted to finally start our podcast because
we now have some free time.
We have some free time, and I think, at least it could just be me, but I think I feel a little more determined now than even I did before.
I'd say so.
I feel like you kind of think about how life can be fragile, and the things you want and the things you think you're going to be able to do don't always pan out, and you don't always have a lot of time. And so I've always the whole thing about the podcast is that I've always felt like eventually we'd get around to doing it. And we haven't. And I mean, 4 years isn't that long, if it's only been 4 years, in fact.
Who can remember?
Yeah. 4 years isn't that long, but it is. We've thought about it for a really long time. At least it feels that way to us. We're in our 20s, so 4 years seems like a big chunk of time. But we finally decided to just pull the trigger on it. We're going to do a podcast. We hope that people like it. We hope that you like it, whoever's listening. And I've decided in my mind, had I not started a podcast, I would have major regrets. I already do now. The fact that we didn't start a podcast earlier, I have huge regrets right now.
Before it was so saturated?
Yeah, because everybody and their mother has a podcast in 2020.
Yeah.
And so we might not ever get any traction from this. But I wanted to do it because I feel like I got some stuff to say. We've always felt like we had some stuff to say. Not that anybody should care. I'm not so...
You really shouldn't. But,
no.
Apparently there's a market for it.
Yeah.
There's a market for just a couple guys sitting around spouting whatever comes to their head.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, so do I. And like I said, there's like 7.5 billion people in the world. A few people...
Nearing 8 now.
Yeah, a few people,
somewhere. 10,
a few
12 people
somewhere should like this.
10, 12 people somewhere want to listen to Yost and I talk about random stuff.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So we're not going to spend our entire time talking about COVID. I promise we won't. But seeing as how it is a giant portion of our life today, we need to address it sometime. I think maybe we should say a little bit about what it has done to our lives personally. For me, as far as my business goes that I own, our market is supposed to be really busy right now, middle of April. We're going into our busy season right now. And because of COVID and maybe a little bit of weather too, it hasn't been busy.
Weather has been pretty unpredictable.
Yeah. Spring sometimes is. But so we again, time, opportunity, everything else.
Time, opportunity, and I guess that's it. Time and opportunity. Time and opportunity.
All right. So what do you want to talk about today, Yost?
Well, obviously we gotta talk about COVID-19. And a story that I found that I thought was interesting and actually pertaining to Jack and I.
Mm-hmm.
We recently signed up to be Instacart shoppers.
Mm-hmm.
And on April 10th, the LA Times reported that a lot of shoppers are actually taking issue with how Instacart has been handling this outbreak.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. There's sanitation and all that stuff, right?
So, yeah, there was I think like maybe a week back, there were some Instacart shoppers talking about how they were going to go on strike because they didn't feel that Instacart was providing them with the, with hand sanitizer or gloves or face masks, which they weren't. And Instacart actually reportedly caved on that demand.
Yeah, they did.
And we're going to send
masks
and hand sanitizer. This article reports that has yet to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it takes some time. Right
Yeah.
now, practically every manufacturer in the country has to make it for hospitals.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
I mean,
right. So there's a high demand for it, and there's probably some shortages going on.
yeah, huge shortages. We can't even buy some for other business.
How do you feel? How do you feel about those demands made by the Instacart shoppers?
I obviously there's a little bit of a bias in being someone that employs someone else. Is you're my employee,
Right.
my employee. Right. So it is my job to provide you with everything that you need to get your job done successfully and safely. And we're trying to do that. Besides the shortages, we got some homemade masks from a lady we know that we'll be doing. I scrounged up some gloves somewhere. So we're going to be doing that to take some precautions when we're around our customers and stuff like that. Because we are considered an essential business to be out. We're in sanitation and janitorial and stuff.
But that is different, though, isn't it? Because I'm not a private contractor hired by you.
And that's what I'm getting around to saying. Yeah. So the thing is with private contractors is you're your own boss. You work your own hours. You work whenever you want to do it.
And it's, with DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart, that's one of the main draws. Is you set your own hours.
The gig economy stuff.
Right, yeah.
And so the thing with being an independent contractor is that you're supposed to provide your own equipment. You provide your own vehicle. You provide everything for it. The only thing that they provide is the customer.
Right. So
that being the case, if you feel like some precautions should be taken, you should take them yourself.
Right.
And though I don't object to anyone saying, "Hey, Instacart, we think you should provide us this stuff. Go ahead and do it give us these masks and safety equipment." If Instacart says yes, which they did, because they want those people to still remain with them, then that's up to them, right? There's no legal action taken or anything like that. They weren't forced to do it. They did it under their own volition. So,
and then also there might be a precedent because, as we already said, there's a demand and a shortage for masks and hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Maybe an actual company like Instacart could have ways of securing those things when, the regular shoppers who are just doing this to make some side money maybe can't find them anywhere.
That's the thing, is because of the Defense Production Act.
Right.
They've mandated every company that makes these things to give them to the federal government.
Right.
Yeah, so they can disperse them to hospitals. So that's why they've been saying wear fabric masks and stuff like that.
Right.
Because otherwise we'd be taking away from our hospitals.
Right.
So, and if we take away from our hospitals, of course, they're the most important people right now. They're taking care of the sick, and they're exposing themselves on a daily basis to this virus that we don't know too much about yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't have too much of a problem with the way it happened, but I see both sides of the argument, right? Because I think we do a pretty good job of seeing both sides of the argument in most situations.
Hopefully.
At least we try to.
Right.
I try my best to. So what was the other thing about Instacart that you were going to say?
So some shoppers have been raising complaints about the multi-batch orders. You go on on the app, and I always assumed that those were just people who wanted it delivered to 2 different houses, like maybe they were taking care of their family. Mm-hmm. But it's actually up to Instacart.
They're the one that
Instacart determines whether to amalgamate these different orders.
Because you're in the same spot already.
Right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so and I thought that it was the customer, but it's actually up to Instacart, and a lot of people are raising complaints about that because it seems like, and I haven't done enough Instacart orders to know this for myself, but it seems like what Instacart pays is a lot smaller than what you can make off of tips.
Yeah, it is, and I think it kind of has to be that way because they're taking it off the top of what the customer is charged. Yeah, so if the customer is already paying for $150 worth of groceries, you can't can't
charge them like another $50 for delivery.
Yeah, so they have a delivery fee, and they take a portion of that, and you take a portion of that, the significant portion of it, and then you can try to make more money off of tips.
Yeah, so people have been raising complaints about the multi-batch orders because it takes more time. Mm-hmm. It's labor intensive, And then if most of your money is made off of tips, that has a potential to not net you much profit, if any profit at all,
Right.
based off of what it makes you.
And especially
If people are tip baiting,
yes,
like this article goes on to talk about, some people, because if you go onto Instacart and you see an order, or you see a batch as they're called, and it's it's like $15 worth of goods and like a $20 tip,
which is nice.
Yeah, which is nice. Like you can take that order, and a lot of people have been, because the tip stays adjustable up until.
Which makes sense too.
Yeah, it does, because you're not guaranteed good service.
Right. If someone comes and brings you a bunch of broken groceries and stuff, you don't want to really give them that big of a tip.
But there have been reports of tip baiting, which is people are putting huge tips on their orders, and then once they get their food, they take it down to a regular like 10 or 15%.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, I get, so that, again, the other side of it is like, so that's bad. You shouldn't do that because you're lying, and you're lying. You're doing it on purpose,
just to get your order accepted more quicker. That doesn't sound right.
for it to more quicker,
more rapidly. That's what I mean.
Yeah. And so someone gets on it faster, which you would. I've delivered for Instacart. If I see a bigger tip, I want to go for the bigger tip.
Yeah.
So that's so that's I saw an article where someone was like, they posted that article, and their caption on Facebook was, if you're doing this, what the F is wrong with you?
And then even going back to beyond the tip baiting is, the grocery stores are still struggling here. They're struggling to get in goods.
Just to get merchandise in.
Yeah, just to get merchandise in. And then, are people still hoarding?
I don't know. I don't know why the toilet paper is still gone. I feel like everyone in America should have 5 or 6 cases of toilet paper already. So unless someone's putting them in storage rooms or something.
Maybe. Supplies are still strained.
Yeah.
So it takes you more time. It takes you more time to complete the orders. Like, I did an order. It took me 2.5 hours and I made like $17. So
that's not good.
No. And admittedly, part of that was my fault. But that's not good. That's not good ROI.
No. I mean, like with everything else, you have to have some level of skill,
right?
And you going into this have to learn that skill still.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Besides the supply lines being strained, and grocery stores having a hard time just getting product in, people are lining up early in the morning. They're going in there. Everybody takes a thing of toilet paper.
Right.
Whether you need it or not, people are going in and getting toilet paper. We went in, like I told a couple of weeks ago. This was still when it was at the height of the toilet paper
craze.
The toilet paper run.
The toilet paper scare of 2020.
Yeah, which, by the way, not an intestinal disease. I don't know how many people know that, but it's not. You don't get diarrhea. Everything is fine. I don't understand the thing. But we were in there, and we waited in a line, Dad and I. And when we got inside, we were walking inside. We helped a lady get a cart because they were stuck together. And I looked up from the cart, and when I looked up, I saw an older man down the aisle sprinting. He was sprinting towards the toilet paper. I looked over at Dad, and I was like, "Did you see that?" And he's like, "Yeah, that guy was running." And I was like, "Yeah, he was running. He needs that toilet paper." Yeah. And hopefully that's not a bad story where, he's really out or something. Right, hopefully he's nuts. That's what you hope for.
Yeah, that's what
you see someone doing.
You see these
like
desperate people, and you hope they're just nutcases.
Yeah,
which isn't always the case, and that's because the longer this went on, at first it was just the nut jobs who thought the world was ending, and so they started hoarding, and then they created a shortage, and the normal people were like, I got to start hoarding too. Yeah. So
the normal people are like, these nut jobs are going to take all the toilet paper. I better take the toilet paper. Yeah, so panic is a bad thing.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
But the bottom line of this article is that, so the spokesperson for Instacart, Natalia Maltavo, I doubt I'm saying that right. Anyway, reported that Instacart shopper earnings increased 40% from February to March, and tips have gone up 30%.
That's nice, but
yeah, but some Instacart shoppers are, because obviously Instacart is probably seeing a boom right now.
yeah, of course.
People are sheltered in place.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, people are sheltered in place. You can see them everywhere, and some workers are saying that the pay hasn't increased proportionally to the demand, so they're wanting more guaranteed money from Instacart rather than having to rely on tips.
Well, but that's what you signed up for, though.
Yeah.
You sign right now. If you're an Instacart shopper, which if you feel like doing something like that, go ahead and do it because there's so much demand right now. You basically can work anytime you want. There's another order waiting for you as soon as you're done with the one you were on. So it's isn't that what they hoped for the whole time? So like they wanted to only do a couple of orders and not make any money, and everything was fine with them, that there was no order there. But now that there's all this demand and they can make as much as they want to, now it's not enough. People complain too much.
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of take issue with Instacart being the ones who decide when to amalgamate batch orders.
But I mean, like, if you're already there, like, how could you decide not to do it? Okay, so I've done several batch orders too, where there's multiple orders on one, and it generally lines up, especially with the Costco ones, because Costco has a limited supply of everything. I mean, they have 1 billion units of one thing, but they have it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. But the thing is it usually lines up. See, both orders, they want some eggs. Both orders, they want some milk. Both orders, they want something in the cheese aisle, right? So you're already there.
Yeah.
If you're already there, you might as well grab something else and make some more money.
Right, yeah.
So, and they seem to try to do their best to make them so they're convenient most of the time. One time I saw one when it was like, these are both 2 Costco orders, but one of them is down the street about 2 miles and the other one's 15 miles away.
Right, yeah.
They're like, okay, well, yeah, they were both Costco, but I don't want to drive that other 15 miles and then come back.
I can see that, because going back to the gig economy, right, Instacart, Grubhub, DoorDash, like, these aren't really meant to be like full-time employment things. No. It's supposed to be money you can make on the side. And this is a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Right? This is why minimum wage became a thing, is because people wanted more guaranteed money. And, I can see that.
I know why people want it. The question is, like, is what you're demanding reasonable?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think
this is reasonable, but I still think you're just trying to find something to complain about.
Yeah.
I
mean, same old story, people want more guaranteed money. Company wants to keep its overhead as low as possible.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure Instacart's making money right now. Oh, I know the demand is huge because I've done a couple of orders and they and like their servers are crashing. so
yeah, that was another complaint I heard, is that the servers keep crashing and it takes forever to get on hold with customer support.
Right.
But
that's because, again, there's a lot of people. Yeah. There's a lot of people sheltering in place.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
I feel bad, honestly, for Instacart, because when this thing is over, they're just going to plummet. It's going to tank. The demand is going to go so far. Like I said, I've delivered a few orders. I've delivered like 10 or 15 orders or something like that. And in that time that I've done it, probably half of those people are kind of ashamed that they're even ordering from you.
Yeah.
They don't want to order from you. They're like, I'm sorry I had you do this.
Yeah. It's like that Jerry Seinfeld bit about having a maid.
Yeah.
He said, or like if he was a cleaner, like a house cleaner, he'd just be, giving them dirty looks, saying, "Oh, I suppose you couldn't pick this up." Says you can't hire a maid because he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to clean that." I guess that's the same mentality behind sending somebody to get your groceries.
Right. Absolutely.
But speaking of people sheltering in place. One one video game in particular has seen a massive surge of popularity.
Yeah.
Because of the COVID-19 scare.
And it's a cute story.
Yeah, I think so. We're talking about Animal Crossing: New Horizons. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what that is,
a fun little time waster.
Yeah, a little time waster. If you don't know what that is, the basic premise is a scumbag raccoon called Tom.
That little jerk raccoon
called Tom Nook swindles you into
just
buying,
wants to see the world burn.
swindles you into buying property on a deserted island. So you go there,
And of course, you're a genius.
yeah. So you go there. That's essentially, by the way, that's essentially the premise of every Animal Crossing game. The reason why you have to, like, farm and build and stuff is because you're always in debt to Tom Nook. I don't know why that was the premise, but like essentially the whole game, you're just paying off debt to Tom Nook.
This Tom Nook has you by the berries.
He does. Anyway, Animal Crossing New Horizons was released March 20th of this year. And it's seen a massive surge in popularity, as I said, because everybody's stuck.
It's only a month old?
Yeah.
Oh, not even a month old?
Yeah, not even a month old. People
impressive.
Love it. I mean, there was...
It seemed fun when the guys were playing it.
Yeah, I mean, you would like it. You like Stardew Valley. The only thing that's different is that time passes in real time.
That's not good.
Yeah. But, with people being stuck in their homes. And it was already a pretty popular franchise.
Yeah.
But what's different, well, actually, I don't know if it's different or not. I don't know if the multiplayer functionality was already on there or not.
Oh,
but there is a multiplayer functionality to this where you can invite people to your island, and you can go to their island and you can hang out, you can listen to music, and so people are socializing in this game,
which is adorable.
Which is adorable because I heard a story of an uncle and a nephew hanging out in Animal Crossing because they can't because they're sheltered in place. I think they live in the UK or something.
That's pretty cool, actually.
But yeah, people have been reports of people having weddings, having birthdays.
Well, that makes me kind of sad.
I mean, you do what you can.
Yeah.
But I think it's a nice story. Animal Crossing has provided a way for people to connect to each other, even when they can't see each other.
Anybody that's refused to, virtually connect with people is being forced to do it now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I like it because I already did. Yeah. I like podcasts. I like watching videos of people. And I feel like you can, over video and podcasts, you kind of connect with somebody.
Yeah, I think so.
And they're not connecting to you. Now we've opened up a whole other thing where people are doing live streams all the time and they're connecting with their audiences, and they're and with your families and stuff. Churches are doing online stuff. I think it's kind of cool how people are embracing it now.
And then even it's seeing an influx of people who have never played video games before.
Right.
Because they're stuck at home, working from home.
I might as well try this video game.
Right, yeah. So I think it's nice that that is one nice thing. And I mentioned this to some friends of ours. When we see a customer, we automatically have common ground.
Yes, everybody knows what's going on.
Because we're all dealing with this together. And I think it's nice that Animal Crossing during these times has provided people a way to connect. And same with Zoom. And,
and goodness, Zoom, yeah. Zoom's ablaze right now.
Yeah. So I thought that was a nice story that people have been coming together over this game. And I think it's nice in general that, even amidst the fear, there's people, there's sort of a sense of connection to just anyone you can come across.
And not just that, I think, so everybody talks about this all the time. And for the last couple of weeks, we have an actual life-changing thing happening right now with this virus. And the last real life-changing moment we had in the United States was 9/11. Right. Like everybody talks about that. And so people have been saying people are turning on each other, people are panicking. They're not actually, it's not like 9/11. Like in 9/11, everybody became an American, They've kind of talked about how they're not now. But I don't think that's true. I think we're starting to see that charity now, where at 9/11 it was like a couple hours. The Twin Towers got hit, they fell, people tried to save each other, and then everyone was charitable because it happened in a day. Yeah. This is happening over a matter of weeks.
Yeah. And plus it's easy to just see the negative,
Yeah.
Especially
of course when you're in it. Especially when you can't find toilet paper at the Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to see the negative. But, a lot of people were worried, a lot of people are stressed, and especially with games like this, it offers very low stakes, very easygoing and slow paced gameplay and stuff. Because I mean, that's all you do is you go around, you collect wood, you build your house, you farm, you collect fruit and stuff like that. It's a very, I mean, I have
very peaceful.
Yeah, I haven't played it myself. But
except why does every animal talk like a maniac?
That's just a like a little quirk they decided to keep.
Yeah, it's a bad one.
Yeah.
Well, you can't win everything.
You can't win everything.
So let's talk about this story that happened, a more serious thing, but also going into what I was saying about how I think you're starting to see good things happen now. Most governments, they kind of freaked out. We shut everything down. Everybody went into their house. Of course, we wanted to take precautions for the coronavirus and everything, but some people have gotten overzealous about it. Some communities across the United States are deciding that the law is going to take it into their hands in a free nation to arrest people and take away their rights and everything. And I think what the government is doing, I think at least what the federal government's doing, even here in our state, the governor is kind of just heavily suggesting what we do.
Yeah.
There isn't any law action happening. In fact, in a city down south,
some local governments have been very hardline.
Yes. And the governor said, no, we're not going to handle it that way, because he believes more in the people of the state. And so this story came out where there was the DOJ. What's the quote?
While social distancing policies are appropriate during this emergency, they must be applied even-handedly and not single out religious organizations, DOJ Director of Communications Carrie Kupik tweeted. Yeah, so because people are getting overzealous, and also too, like the church-going people are too. A lot of them have basically taken up arms and saying that they're gonna go to church, and you can have your back and forth or however you feel about that. Us here at the table have been split on that idea for a little bit, but you can't just arrest people. Yeah, you can't throw people in jail. People have said like that it's endangering other people, and that very well may be at some point if we find out, but we don't know that yet. So you can't preemptively take away somebody's rights if we don't actually know that this thing is going to be what everybody thinks it is. And to this point, it hasn't been. And you can say that's because of 100 different reasons. Mm-hmm. But I think it's cool as a freedom-loving American that that the DOJ has decided that we're not just gonna arrest people because there's somebody that wants to go to church. You have to negotiate a little bit. You got to try to talk people down. You can't just go and throw them in jail. I think that's a good story. I think that's a good, level-headed way to deal with stuff. To say let's talk about why we should shelter in place right now. Let's talk about why we should be at home or taking precautions to not be in large groups, and not just, oh, you're going to be in a large group, well, we're throwing you in jail. Yeah. A lot of churches have moved to Facebook Live or Zoom. Our church has. Mm-hmm. And I think as of right now, we're making the best out of a bad situation. Right. Some churches don't have the means or the ability to do that.
Yeah. And that's usually where these stories are coming from.
Right. Too. Is from these churches, because you can't paint everyone with the same brush.
We're a huge country.
And some churches, especially churches in impoverished areas, don't have the means of connecting over Facebook or over Zoom.
Yeah, what was that pastor? Was it Baton Rouge, Louisiana? He said that most of his congregation doesn't have internet because they're so poor. Right. They apparently there's like hundreds of kids that don't have any family that go to church. They go to church and they serve them breakfast, and they're in church, and then they get time to play together after church. Yeah. And they have a bus ministry that lets the kids take a bus to the church every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And they don't get that. They don't have any ability to get online. A lot of them are little kids. Yeah. And apparently they don't have I trust church people usually. I wouldn't send my 6-year-old with a bunch of strangers I don't know. Yeah. So obviously, I don't want to. I have a 4-year-old and a 9-month-old, and I'm not I'm not going to say I'm the best father in the whole world, but I do love them very much. And I basically wouldn't trust them with anybody that's not family. So, so in my head, I'm like, what level-headed parent is going to give their 6-year-old like, oh yeah, take that bus, go on, get out of here.
And then to their credit, a lot of local governments have instituted the rule that churches are essential functions that serve essential functions and should stay open
as long as they take certain precautions.
As long as they take certain precautions,
which I think is good too.
And with like that church in Louisiana, a lot of these kids probably don't have the best home life.
Yeah, I know.
So church is like their only escape from that.
Yeah, church and school and stuff. They took school away. So
and they took school away.
Yeah,
and it's easy when we've been blessed enough to be able to switch to online services and stuff, but when like that's not an option, or when you feel in the spirit that God wants you to do something different, it's easy to cast aspersions on people.
Yeah, it is, especially if you have the opposite mindset about them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think the good thing is that people are trying to cope, and they're trying to do it in reasonable ways, and they're trying to, like some of these churches, they got in trouble for getting together still, but they had taken like a lot of safety precautions already. They had hand sanitizer, they had masks people could use, they had gloves people could use, they had them trying to stay spaced apart, which makes for a weird church service, but at least they're trying to take the precautions to do what they thought they should do.
And then even when these local governments have come down hard on these people, like higher ups, like the governor, or like the DOJ is talking about taking these measures, they step in and say, no, you can't just arrest these people and stuff. And I think that's good.
Yeah. Because no government, you really don't want that you really don't want a government to have power over your life.
Yeah. Now, people have been talking a lot about this current administration during this time. But really, I think on the whole, cooler heads have prevailed.
I think so too.
In this whole thing. There was panic at the beginning, and there was a lot of uncertainty. But as this goes on, I think that our president and I think our governor has been handling it.
Which, by the way, we have. Everyone knows Donald Trump is the president of the United States, but we have a very left-leaning governor in Gavin Newsom, and they seem to be working together pretty well. They've both complimented each other on being level-headed and rational and stuff like that. And so, I think you're right, Yost. I think cooler heads have prevailed in this.
Yeah, and it's good to see. And it's good to see, John Krasinski does the Some Good News and stuff. It's good to see those lights of humanity shining.
Right. Yeah.
Shining. It's not just everybody trampling people in the store to get toilet paper and canned goods.
Right.
It's also people lining up outside of hospitals to applaud healthcare workers. By the way, healthcare workers,
we love you very much.
You guys have been rock stars through all of this.
We know a lot of them.
Yeah.
And even though sometimes work gets a little hectic, they never for a second do they think, well, I'm going to stay home today.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate that.
But it's, even those little fluff pieces like the Animal Crossing game, it's just nice to see. It's nice to see people connecting more. Even, adversity brings people together.
Even HBO's giving away their stuff, right?
Yeah, HBO. I mean, it's nice to see people coming together because adversity brings people together. I feel like more so than tears them apart.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you just have to give it time. The panic has to stop. And I think we're past that. I think we're kind of past panic. Even though we're seeing more deaths, more hospitalizations right now, we do the panic has stopped. People are starting to think about it again. People are starting to be more rational. And they're saying, how can I help my neighbor?
Yeah.
That's really good.
The longer this goes on, you're also seeing more and more people stepping up.
Yeah, to help.
To help,
yeah. Absolutely.
It's like I said before when this all started, this is a great opportunity to be angels to the people around you.
Yeah, we are supposed to be the light to the world around us. And that's what our goal is.
Well, we're about out of time for today.
We're happy that you were with us today. We hope that you enjoyed this. We hope that we didn't talk about the virus too much.
We hope that it was somewhat uplifting.
We hope you come back next time.
But until then, I'm Yost.
And I'm Jack. We'll talk to you next time.